Hey, I want to welcome everybody to our Bounce video newsletter that we're doing for the month of March, end of February, month of March. And I've got a couple of group leaders here with me today, and excited to have a couple of our great supportive group leaders with us. First of all, I want to introduce them to you. Today we have Tyler Dingle, and he is at First Baptist Church in Cuero. How long you been there now, Tyler?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years, okay. And Tyler and I go back a long way. I used to speak at some classes at Howard Payne occasionally, and that's where I first met Tyler. And Tyler's doing a great job in Cuero. And then I have Logan Burgess with us today, and he is the youth pastor at Westwood Baptist Church in Tyler. And these are a couple of all stars. I really appreciate these guys, and I appreciate what they do in terms of having their students on mission every year, and not just with us at Bounce, but they're always looking for opportunities to have their students on mission even back home. And I want to talk with them a little bit today, have them share a little bit about why they think it's such an important thing to have a missional element in their student ministries. So, Logan, I'm gonna let you lead off today. Tell
All right.
me, I know you guys have been with us for several years now at Bounce, but I know that you know that missions is important and exposing your kids to that. So why is that such an important thing for you as far as your ministry is concerned?
Yeah, this will be our fifth summer doing a bounce trip, and so we've been doing it for quite a while and been with you guys. And first of all, Bounce is a fantastic organization. Obviously, from the top to the bottom, we've realized that you guys are mission minded and are looking to carry those things out the way that Jesus did. And so I think that really, from a core standpoint, we see that Jesus did ministry. He did it in the way of service. He did it in the way of sacrifice, all of those kinds of things. And so I've been the youth pastor for about 7 years now, and we did youth camps to start. And we kind of realized that we wanted to do something different. We wanted to get back mission focused and mission minded, and taking these kids and teaching them from a very early age what that looks like. And sometimes your junior high kids may not understand exactly what you're doing, but you're giving them a prime example with them seeing you working, you serving some of the high school kids doing those things. And it's been more transformative, I think, in the hearts and the minds of the students to do something where they are actually sweating and putting some equity into the mission work and the things that they're doing. And so it's really the response from the students, even though Bounce is a fantastic organization, the response from the students has been pretty phenomenal, to see the way that they respond to mission work, and seeing us carrying out the things that Jesus has called us to, not only with the Great Commission, but everything that he had to say on serving and loving and sacrificing. And so it's just really important for us to teach these people from junior high all the way through, so that when they become adults, that they're mission minded, not only to go do mission work, but at home as well.
Man, you used a word there that I love. You said transformative, and that is
Mm-hmm.
definitely something we want to see happen in the lives of students through mission service. Tyler, let me throw it to you, man. And I'm going to circle back for a conversation I had with you at Conclave this year, Tyler. That it was kind of fun. But why is that important for you as far as your ministry is concerned to have that kind of element in there?
Yeah, so for me, why it's so important, it really dates back to my times as a student. Our student pastor never took us to youth camp. He always took us on mission trips, and he would always tell us, hey, crossing state lines with you is some of the best ministry moments he's ever had. And I never really understood what that meant as a high school student. I'm like, okay, well, you just made us slave work for a project that we have no care for at all. But really, when I started getting into youth ministry, everything seemed like it was about the kids and them getting what they need and what they want, and everything just revolved around them. And so we really had to make a dramatic shift in our ministry when we came to Cuero to say, hey, this is no longer about us and no longer about what we can receive, but rather what we can give. And so we've really modeled in our student ministry that our mission statement is that we exist to learn, serve, and share Jesus. And so trips like Balance allow us to serve and share Jesus at the same time. And so it's not only important to have a missional element for us, but really it's important for us to have a missional heartbeat.
Mm.
We want kids to understand that when they graduate at 18, like they're still on mission, and they need to be living on mission today at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old.
Because if they don't learn missional living now, they're not going to be missional living as an adult. They will find something bigger and better to do, and find a different foundation to raise their own family on. So we really believe that we're setting a foundation in student ministry to say, hey, missional living matters, and it matters as a student. It matters when you get married. It matters how you raise your kids, and we really want that to be the heartbeat of our students as they kind of exit our student ministry and go out and launch into the world.
Man, that's such a great word. And again, it comes back to that transformation that can take place as a result of that. And I know, Tyler, I could see Logan there. He's shaking his head. You know, you talked about the family. One of the cool things about Logan is one of the things that he was most excited about last year is his daughter was going to get to come with him for the first time to bounce.
Yeah.
And I know that was such a cool thing for him because he really wanted her to have that type of experience. And I really do appreciate that. And that was a cool thing, Logan, wasn't it for you?
Oh, yeah, it was an incredible experience, and seeing not only that she got to come and do it, but being able to experience seeing her good work ethic and things that I've tried to instill in her from a very early age. And she was the first one on the roof. She was ready to go. She was working all day, working hard, and coming back. She was on fire like all the other youth were that have been for years of, hey, we're heading home, and all we can think about is where are we going to be next year? When are we going? What's it going to look like, and all of those things. And so definitely a cool experience to bring that almost full circle for me, not only from a youth pastor perspective, but a dad too. So really
Yeah,
cool.
that's awesome. Well, I want to think a little bit about your bounce experience, and I'm going to start with Tyler on this one because this year at Youth Ministry Conclave, Tyler came up to me and started the conversation was I really need to talk to you about something, and he said it in such a way as like, oh gosh, what have I done? And it was really cool because he sort of flipped the script on me and went from making me think, oh my gosh, what have I done? What did we do to him? To his group, and he basically said, "My kids don't want to do anything but serve and do missions now." You know, and that was one of those things that makes my heart happy. Talk a little bit about your bounce experience, Tyler, and how that all went about.
Yeah. So, from a student pastor perspective, while we were there, I thought our kids had an awful bounce experience. So we had a project that we were not prepared for. We did not have the tools to do it. We didn't have the knowledge to do it. We were clueless on what we were doing and how to do it. And so I'm thinking in my mind, these students are never coming back. We're not doing this ever again. And really, when we came back next Monday, a student comes to my office and says, we need to talk. I was like, okay, what's going on? And she said, we're not doing enough of that. We need to be doing this week in and week out, everywhere we are, everywhere we go. And so I just asked her, so, okay, what's your plan? I said, well, I don't know. What's your plan? I don't know. And so we kind of sat and talked, and really that conversation really launched into a lot of different service ministries that our students do on their own. Some of them are spiritually minded, some of them are work minded. But through those conversations, through those bounce trips, we've been able to start through our students' own initiative, 3 different ministries out of our student ministry that they're leading on their own. I rarely even show up to them at this point. They've just launched and said, we're going to do this, and we don't care who doesn't do it, but we're going and we're going to be a part of it. We've had these students now going and doing Christmas caroling at nursing homes. They're writing Valentine's letters to combat veterans. They're just doing a bunch of just service things that people don't think to do anymore, and they just feel like because of that bounce trip, like that caused them to learn and see that there's a world outside of Cuero, and there's a world outside of their little teenage lives, that there's something to do and there's work to be done, and that the Great Commission is still moving forward. And so that's really what they've gathered from that trip. And it's pushed me as a student pastor to say, okay, I need to get creative. I need to find ways to find them a way to serve. And so because of David, I now actually have to work. So
Yeah, I'm glad I could help. And anyway, sometimes you think maybe they're not getting it and things, or maybe sometimes it's us. Maybe we're not quite getting it and everything, because things don't go necessarily as smoothly as we'd hope, and we never want that to be the case. But it's amazing how God can work even in the midst of those things. Most of the time you have our plans do work pretty well, but sometimes plans change. And that did happen to us last year at spring break. We had some things fall through on us, so we had to move some people around. But I'm glad that God was able to do what he was able to do in the lives of your students, even so. And now you guys have another trip planned, as I recall. Y'all got someplace at Wyoming, or I can't remember where you're.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're taking our leadership team to Butte, Montana. We're gonna be
Montana.
working
Okay.
with Expedition Church down there.
Yeah.
Doing some construction-based missions, but also getting to work and interact with the community. Mega churches, there are 100 people, and so it's going to be a great culture shock for them to kind of engage in a place where there's not a church every 14 feet.
Yeah, yeah, cool. And and one of the things that I love about it too is you're also coming to Bounce. You'll be at spring break with us this year. And as I recall, you're the one that told me that one of your students was the one that came and said, "Hey, have you signed up for Bounce yet?" She's making you work too.
Yeah,
I
she
love
is.
that.
She
So we'll look
graduates
forward
this year.
we'll look forward to having you at spring break this year. Logan, tell us a little bit about your experience. I know you've been, I think the first year you guys were with us, you were with us for a not a disaster recovery experience, but a community rehab experience. So
Yeah.
and I know you've done the full slate since then, but tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about your experience, how it has affected your students.
Yeah, that's what we actually, it's another full circle thing. As we were in Waco the first time with Aaron Austin, we would be back in Waco with Aaron Austin this summer. So
Yeah.
we're excited about that, just to kind of go back to where it started. And the younger kids who have come up, my youth group, the first year I went, I had 6 or 7 senior boys. And so physically, that was probably the best bounce we had because we had so much muscle. And now I'm almost I'm like 90 to 95% junior high kids. And so they're willing, but we just need the muscles to grow a little bit. But yeah, it was a community outreach, and like I said, it's funny because we went to Waco to do the youth camps that I referenced earlier, and then we ended up going back to Waco for the bounce trip, and it like I said, it's transformative in a way that y'all kind of talked earlier about how you don't know how the experience is while you're there because it's hot, it's exhausting. There's long days. When you get back, you get a shower and then you're kind of just depleted and all these things. And so you never know how your kids are responding. And not only do we wonder how they're responding, I think that there's levels of they don't even understand the things that they're experiencing and going through and how much that they truly enjoy using the physical body that God gave them to go and to serve. And the first time we met a homeowner, which I think is one of the coolest parts that we've experienced from Bounce, is there's an opportunity while you're on someone's roof or while you're at their house, you get to speak with them specifically. And the first time that they saw someone who was living in a different kind of condition that they were used to even seeing at home, or maybe they had been taking something for granted with a good roof over their heads that their parents have always provided for them, them experiencing being able to see the person that they were serving and be able to have conversations with them, being able to hear from that person how much it means for them to be on their roof, how much it means for them to be there and to be a listening ear through some of the issues they might be facing in life. And it really was just like a completely different experience that I think these kinds of trips make long, life lasting changes in a young child's heart, a youth kid's heart, that could really boost them into, like Tyler talked about earlier, if we teach them how to do these things now, then they're going to be a lot better at doing it as an adult. Because for me, I know that I tell my kids all the time, if you would take the things that I'm trying to teach you to heart now, you're not going to struggle like I did in my early 20s with some of these things that I'm trying to teach you. And I think that the way that Bounce is set up, it really sets you up for success to be able to serve and love your students while you're there and teach them what these things look like. And so that's one of the reasons that we've fallen in love with, and we'll continue to do Bounce ministry with Bounce for as long as we can. So yeah.
Appreciate that. We really do. We really do. Any last things you'd want to say in terms of a highlight, maybe a specific student's life or anything like that you guys can reflect on?
I'll tell a specific story because it was there's a young man in my youth group. I've known him since he was he was born, and his dad is one of my best friends. Actually, that's the GM of the FedEx contractor that I work for. He When we were talking about balance his first time as he was graduating fifth grade, heading into sixth grade, and we were kind of trying to get him excited about it. He was one of those kids that was just like, I do not want to go and sit in the heat and work all week. But I mean, it was kind of what you'd expect maybe from a young teenage boy. And when we got there, he still was kind of in that mode. But literally after day one, which is the hardest day that you have at Bounce, is whenever you're having to tear shingles off a roof or you're having to do some deconstruction. It's usually the physically toughest day. He was hooked. And it wasn't anything other than him having a good mind shift, like I was talking about, that I hope lasts the rest of his life. And you know what? Doing this and serving people and showing them the love that has been shown to me my whole life through my parents or through my sibling, all these things that we experience, he was able to take that and then use it. And from then on, he has been one of my biggest advocates for Bounce, not only to the church, but to me even, because like Tyler was saying, like he's the guy that when we park, he's like, hey, as soon as you know where we're going next year, I want to be the first one to know. And it was, to me, it was really cool, and it was very emotional for me to see kind of a mind shift in him, and obviously we see that in all the kids, but specifically for him, whenever he just had that realization of getting mission minded and really reaping the benefits that we would get from our relationship with Christ due to being obedient. And so for us, that was really cool for me just to see that in a young man that I've known for a long time. And yeah, it was incredible. And without Bounce, without God providing for this ministry, we don't know if these things would happen. So, definitely grateful for Bounce, and the great things that it's provided, not only for me as a youth pastor, but for these kids and for the people that we're being able to serve as well. I don't want to lose sight of that either, that plenty of houses now have roofs, and there's been a lot of disaster relief and things like that have been done due to the organization. So, yeah.
Good word. Tyler, anything you'd add?
Yeah. I'll go back to kind of our project last year. After we'd finished our second day and we're heading back, a couple of our students were just really upset that they didn't really get to engage with the family. We were on a church property rather than in an individual home. And a lot of our students we didn't get to engage with any people, really anything like that. And I don't know, it was somebody on our site from another church or somebody related to Bounce said, well, the day's not over yet. And we kind of pondered that through lunch and through the afternoon. And when we got back in our van, one of our students said, well, we're in the middle of Houston. I mean, surely we can find somebody to engage with. It doesn't have to be on our site. And so just that little comment from, we don't even remember who that person was. But we were able to go after we had finished our construction work and said, okay, we didn't get to engage with anybody on our project, but we're still here. We're still part of this trip. We still have time. And so we ended up making the probably not so wise decision of dropping 10 teenagers off at Katie Mills Mall last summer. And I said, you have 30 minutes, go share the gospel and come back. And many of them were like, we don't know how. I don't know how to do that. I was like, well, yeah, 30 minutes, figure it out, come back. And that was really the highlight of our trip, was that 30 minutes inside the mall. They came back and said, hey, we get to have so many conversations about why we're even here, and they don't even know what we did all week. And that really kind of launched us into the missions that we're able to do here. Is they realize that whether or not what they're doing is being seen or not, they still have the opportunity to share what Christ is doing in their own lives with people that were not associated around what they were doing. And so it really taught them to engage their story, and really taught them to share what's going on with what Christ is leading them to do, and why they would spend part of their spring break serving when these people they're getting to talk to are just buying clothes or shoes or a bass boat or something like that. And so they were able to really engage gospel conversations on our drive back to the host church.
Yeah. And sometimes in a disaster world, that can be tough, because a lot of times when we're working on homes of people in disaster, in many cases, they're not in the home, and that's the challenging thing about it. So, God does afford us other opportunities at time, to answer that
Yep.
question, why we're here. And that's why we sort of go through what we call why we're here training, is when that question gets asked, we're able to say something as to why we're here. It's because that Christ has called us to serve. And that's always a good thing to be able to share in the midst of disaster situations or whatever the case may be. Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys taking some time to share with us a little bit about your experience. And as far as participating in Bounce, it's pretty easy, isn't it? As far as getting your kids out there, get them on mission. I mean, has that been your experience?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed about Bounce specifically is it when I said it gives you an opportunity to serve alongside your students, it's because Bounce takes care of everything so that you literally can show up and be on a roof with your students and not really have to think about a whole lot. And so it gives you the opportunity to serve them and serve the community at the same time. And so, yeah, it's incredible for youth pastors, not just for the youth, but it's, I think, for the adults as well.
Yeah. Tyler,
Yeah.
anything you'd add?
Yeah, just on a planning stage, I mean, just the way y'all have all the projects set up is it makes it to where I don't have to go 3 months in front and go find a project and then take my kids somewhere and go do that project. It's all there. It's we say, hey, who wants to go? Okay, these 9 kids want to go. All right, we're going in 3 weeks. Like, let's get going. Let's get signed up and we're going.
Yeah.
And that was so essential for a lot of our kids who were like, I'm not doing that. But we're like, no, like, here's what we're doing. Here's the project. Here's who's going to be a part of it. Here's how we're doing it. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
It's oftentimes when our students don't know the details is when they're not going to commit to something. And so for Bounce, when we know up front, hey, this is our project and this is what we're doing. And even when a curveball gets thrown, like, we have expectations of, hey, here's how we're going to help the community before we ever get there. And here's how Bounce is going to pour into you while you're here. Side rabbit. I mean, one of the most impactful things for me is when we got back to Bounce, the speaker that shared with them last spring break had our student pastors come up and had our students pray over us. I never experienced something like that myself, and it was very weird for our students to do that because I'd been on staff for about 3 months at that time, 4 months at that time. And so but just the details that Bounce provides to allow our students just to freely be on mission without having to plan or think. They just say, okay, I'm in, let's go.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, fellas, thanks so much. Appreciate you guys. Look forward to seeing you guys down the road here. Tyler in a couple of weeks and Logan later on this summer. And
Absolutely.
Spread the word, man. Help us get the word out that we want to help people mobilize their students for some hands-on mission experiences, whether that's through construction, disaster recovery, community rehab, church planning, whatever the case may be. We welcome the opportunity and count it a privilege to help people get their kids on mission, because missions can be transformative in the lives of students. And I speak from experience. That's what did it for me. And it sounds kind of like that's what did it for you, Tyler. And Logan, that's probably what did it for you to some extent as well. As God can use missions in that way to help us as we grow spiritually. For me, it helped me clarify my call to ministry. A lot of things that missions can do, and I'm grateful for guys like you who have a missional element to what you do. So thanks so much for spending a little time with us today, and hope others will join in. We love it when more people become a part of the Bounce family. So with that, blessings on everybody. Thanks guys for your time today. I'm going to stop recording, and I do want y'all to hang on for just a minute so I can say another word to you personally. But anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope to see you at Bounce someday in the future.
God bless.